Anthony Todd Show.
Hey guys, welcome to the Anthony Todd Show. We are a weekly podcast that critiques and memes music. I'm your host, Trevor, aka Kanye and Jay-Z's Watch My Dog While I'm on Vacation, aka Pearl Jam should be a part of 88 Rising, aka French rapper Anderson Jacques. And I'm joined by my ever-attentive co-host, my best friend, my pal, my amigo, Vincent.
aka Planet Toaster, aka How Does... Oh, no, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. aka How Does George Clinton Keep His Breath Fresh? A Parliament. aka Playboy Marty, the zebra from Madagascar. Like, I thought you wrote me a new joke, but that was actually the joke I wrote for you. You just put it back to me.
Yeah, because you wrote it.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Yeah, I wanted to give it to you, though.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Because you could probably actually read it.
I gave you the rest of them.
Apparently, like, I can't speak now. My vision was blurry. I just said, Ho does. That's like what I read it as. So it was like, Ho does George Clinton. Oh, no, that's my joke.
This is episode 48 of the Anthony and Todd Show, an episode we would like to call WWE stands for We Want Eggplant.
This week, we're going to be talking about Elias's new EP. WWE stands for We Want Elias. We Walk with Elias. I'm sorry, I'm out of it today, I guess. And we're also, which is it relates to our recent trip to Cincinnati on Monday when we saw Monday Night Raw. And it also relates to a segment we're bringing back. We never actually really did it because I never made a cut of an episode because I think footage glitched out. But we're doing the playlist segment.
Dang.
First time ever. And we're going to be going over a bunch of different tracks that we're really excited to talk about. Even our dank pick of the week will be in our playlist this week. So it's going to be a really fun episode. So this week, Elias and Novelty albums. I kind of wanted to... I think Elias's recent EP was a good time to talk about this because I didn't think about it until recently, but I think there's an art to Novelty albums, and I think we needed to cover it at some point, and I think it just kind of happened that like everything kind of aligned this week. Like our trip to Cincinnati to see Monday Night Raw, which was like this like long trip we took, day trip that was like some of the stupidest shit that has ever happened to us in our friend group.
It felt like a 3-day journey. It felt like it was literally just a day.
We'll go into that later, but like that trip took us to Monday Night Raw on the same day Elias dropped an EP. Elias is a WWE wrestler, and he is basically a heel that thinks he's a wanderer, a drifter as he calls it, that is a self-proclaimed rock star, and he just shits on the crowd to get heel heat. He's just a jerk. That's his gimmick. He's classic heel, gets great heel heat. He's a good character, in my opinion, out of a bunch of wrestlers. I think he does kind of like this old school gimmick of just being like a gimmick. It's a full-on gimmick. It is not like a real person like other wrestlers like Kevin Owens are, but like Kevin Owens seems like a legitimate person with legitimate like reasons to do like the shit he does. Like when he beat up John Cena, like it was so he can prove himself to his son. So like there's motivation to that. Elias is just a jerk who plays guitar kind of poorly and sings not that good, and like that builds up his character of, oh, he's not a good performer.
Mad because he sucks.
It's like go away heat. Like we want you to go away, we'll boo you. But he's also a really compelling artist in the way he like has the crowd in his palm of his hand, and like people really enjoy his character work. So his new EP, W stands for Walk with Elias, came out Monday, and it's essentially a novelty album. Elias is doing his character work that he's always done. More of a novel EP. It's not albums, EP. That he presents his character work that he's always done. A lot of the tracks or some of the similar songwriting that he does to his performances at WWE are in these 4 tracks, and they're all acoustic guitar tracks, which I think actually really build up the character of Elias. Like I think having additional production would have kind of almost ruined it and made it seem even cheesier than it actually is supposed to be.
Yeah.
There's only one different moment, which is actually an acoustic piano ballad, which makes reference to the fact that it is something different. And that is the track Nothing I Can't Do, which is him putting himself up. It's like, oh, I can play piano. What can you do? Like he can do all this. He's basically proving everyone down towards him, if that makes sense, or showing his own self-worth and diminishing everyone else's.
Yeah. He's showing off.
Yeah.
Basically.
So this is all a gimmick. It's all a gimmick that supports the character of Elias. And it's straight out of like the WWE mantra. Has similar album art to a lot of their other releases of theme music done by CFOs. This album art's god awful. It's the worst album art of the year. Just so fucking generic.
It's going on the list.
But it's in this WWE world. It's in the same mantra as everything else, which works in its benefit because it's almost like in the canon of WWE's universe, this EP actually exists there too, which is nice. Like it isn't a release just in our world; it's a release in the world of professional wrestling, in WWE's canon, which is really cool. And it gives him something to build off of for later storylines where he self-proclaims a rock star. I think this is actually gonna do decent on the charts, not like super high, but it's gonna get some like 150 spot somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, because like previous releases, like I think the most notable Fandango's like theme music in like 2014 I think got like really high in like the British charts, which is weird, but after like it took off and became a meme. But I think it could do good, and I think anything that comes from this actually supports his character. But so yeah, this is essentially a novelty album where Elias has this like normal performance, very acoustic guitar partners. His vocals are pitchy. It supports his character of being this like go away type of guy. You want him to go away. He's bragging all the time. He's being a piece of shit. Just like a no good heel, and it works. These 14 minutes that he provides with us on this EP is just the right amount before you get sick of it. And I think that's why this is actually a really decent EP, not for the music that is actually provided, because when you look at the music, the guitar work is very basic, piano work's very basic, his vocals are pitchy, but the character and the lyricism, which is not like good, it is cheesy, but it works for the character. And I think it's the outside influences of this EP that make it good. The character work of Elias and the relationship to wrestling, I think, is what makes this novelty EP work. And like I think we've talked about this, pretty much all I can say on it, but this relates to novelty albums, and I think it made me think about it in a different way, that novelty albums either are intended to be jokes, or it's some of the outside influences that make them funny or appealing. Yeah. Like I think other even like wrestling related novelty albums, such as Randy Savage's Being Man, it's not intended to be funny, but the fact that Macho Man Randy Savage dropped a rap album, he dropped a hip hop album, is such like a strange vanity or such a strange like oddity out there. That the fact that he's like doing the traditional character of himself, or like the traditional tone of how he talks normally in his promos, and applies that to rapping, which is not good. It's like the opposite end of the spectrum, where it knows it's not funny, or it doesn't want to be funny, but it's so bad it's good. It like goes past 0 back to 10. Kind of like the way like films like Sharknado and The Room do that. I think novelty albums kind of do the same thing. Like I think the most interesting novelty albums are the ones that are unself-aware. But I think meaning interestingly, I think it's just like they are more strange and oddity, and just because the fact they aren't self-aware into what form of art they are makes it such like a weird moment of history, a weird time capsule of sorts.
Well, it's weird because I think that the artist takes it seriously. Yeah. Like, I was thinking about novelty items and just like other celebrities who have put out things like that. And I thought that Jaden Smith's Sire, we talked about the Electric album last week, Sire easily could have become a novelty album. And maybe to some it is, because Jaden Smith was already established before, he was in The Karate Kid, he's Will Smith's son. He was in that one movie where the world was ending and it was like Avatar, except for it wasn't.
Oh, After Earth.
Yeah. I mean, easily could have ended up as being just like a big joke, but Jaden Smith took it seriously enough and people, bought into that. But like another album that came to mind, Kobe Bryant's album.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, that's a piece of our own history. Kobe's album was taken seriously by Kobe himself, but it wasn't taken seriously by anybody else. But here Kobe was trying to prove himself as an artist. Like, Elias has absolutely nothing to prove. He doesn't, like, want to create good music. He just wants to show off and be a heel and make people hate him to play into his character. I mean, a rock star character would put on an album eventually, correct? I think Kobe's album was Kobe trying to be good at something, and it just didn't pan out. Kind of like Michael Jordan playing baseball. Yeah.
You mentioned Kobe Bryant's album, but this is like also another territory I kind of want to get into. It's like, when is a novelty album a novelty album? Because I mentioned right over there, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Music for the People. I think that's a novelty album. I totally do. Now, like, I think that's the history and all the build-up from it. The fact that Mark Wahlberg's now this huge celebrity that owns thousands of fucking businesses out there, thousands of Wahlburgers, one that we ate in on Monday. So, again, circle of events. But I think the fact that he's such a big star now, and that in this phase in the 90s, he made a hip-hop album.
But he wasn't a star back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't a novelty back then, because this is what he was trying to do.
Yeah, but it's a novelty now.
Now it's a novelty. It became a novelty.
Yeah. I think there's, like, that's, like, a good moment, like, good way to look at it is, like, I'm still trying to figure out what is a novelty album and, like, how it can be applied. And I think a lot of the history has to do with it. It could be, there's, like, multiple ways I think a novelty album can exist. One, it's just, like, humorous purposes. Like, I think Lonely Island, their Incredibad is a great example of that. Just, like, tracks that they did for, like, SNL and, like, some original other content, just stacked together. And it's a joke album, but is that a novelty album or is that just a comedy album?
I guess we could say the same about, like, Weird Al. He made his entire career off of making parodies. But I still think that Weird Al is one of the most, like, influential artists out there.
Yeah, like, I think this goes into another point I had. It's like, I don't think novelty albums can be actually good musically, if that makes sense, because I think novelty albums, they're supposed to not be taken seriously. They're supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
Or you look at them in a joke. And they're not supposed to be compared to other musical work. Like, Macho Man's Be the Man is not supposed to be compared to, like, NWA or, like, Biggie Smalls or anything else. It's, like, not supposed to be, like, compared to anything else. It's supposed to be in its own little bubble, its own little range. It's supposed to be, like, rated as, like, a joke. Not as, like, a joke as, like, Macho Man is a joke, but more like a written piece of work, a written joke. I think that's kind of how it should be looked at in a sense. And whether it's intentional or not, I think that it still plays out kind of the same. I think more times it's interesting, like Corey Feldman's Angelic to the Core. I think that's a novelty album just because it's such a huge, like, cluster of nonsensical, like, attempt at, like, hip hop and pop. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's so strange. And, like, I think Corey's, whether he's playing a character or not, that is, like, inept to figure out, like, this is bad music, like, this is not good, I think plays into the fact that I view it as a novelty album.
Could the same thing be said for, like, Kieran J. Callahan?
Or
Ariel Pink?
I think this goes back to the thing I said earlier. I think because Kieran J. Callahan and Ariel Pink are humorous, but they still have good musical qualities. But Corey Feldman is not good, so that's what makes it a novelty. Because I think novelties can't be good, or they have to be.
Well, Ariel Pink's last record wasn't good.
To you, I thought it was okay, but I think. But even there's, like, moments on that when it wasn't as humorful or as strange, but you could say the same thing of Corey Feldman. But, like, I think this is, like, the conundrum of what is a novelty album. It's just, like, at what point, I think it's, like, a touch and go of Braceman's. There's a lot of, like, shades of gray of, like, do you view novelty album only for comedy purposes? If then, what separates comedy album from a novelty album? But if it's not just for comedy purposes, if, like, history and other events can play into it,
You're talking like Marky Mark was not
it
novelty when it was released.
Yeah. So like what?
Same with like Will Smith,
Yeah.
except for he makes good music.
I think Will Smith's a little less, because there's like
I think he's definitely less
better.
because I enjoy Will Smith's music
Like
without knowing Will Smith.
his music now I view as like a novelty.
Yeah.
Just because of like it's the gimmick. Oh, Will Smith's back. Like I view that. Does like gimmicks have a play in it too? Like I there's just so many like
I think so.
ways we could like go about answering the question of what is a novelty album, and the way I particularly view it is like I think it can be funny, it can be amusing, you can find enjoyment in it, but it can't be musically good or musically tamed, if that makes, or musically talented. I think that's what I'm trying to go for.
Sure. Okay, so like a couple recent examples that came out. Cal Chesta's new Classic.
Yeah, that's a novelty.
That's a novelty album because it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's not supposed to be good.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be like funny or a big joke based off of Anthony Fantano's Cal Chesta character.
Yeah.
And it like wasn't supposed to be good.
I think that's a similar reason why Elias is a novelty EP, just because it's like character applied to work, or the character outside of music applied to a record or an EP.
Okay, that makes sense. So Pink Guy with Pink Season.
Pink Guy's on like a little bit more of the gray spectrum, because there's still like there's phases of Pink Guy where he was like doing like Joji type of music, where it was more hip hop, but he was like coming to the end of his career, especially on Pink Season. There were some moments like where he wasn't. I think it's like Rice Balls wasn't. It was like jokey, but it wasn't like a novelty. But like I think Pink Guy, the mixtape, definitely a novelty. But like Pink Season is less of that. But I still view it as that because, especially now with history coming into play, Pink Guy's dead. So like the character is dead.
I see that very much so as a novelty. Other couple novelties, the Hamburger Helper mixtape, and then the Wendy's mixtape that followed, that was just a big copycat. I'm mad at you, Wendy's.
Those are both novelties for promotion. And I think even Elias's EP is a novelty promotion. You can count that as well. It's novelty for the product of wrestling.
Here's the one that makes me the most mad. Lil Dicky's Brain EP.
Oh my God! Don't even. That's the worst one. And Corey Feldman was on this list. That's the one that hurts me the most. Just being said. Yeah, that's a novelty.
For promotion.
It's like a novelty I wouldn't even like touch ever, but it is.
It's. Like
I don't even think that's
fan favorite character. It'd be like if you, or like maybe a fan hated character. I don't know. It'd be like if you took Jar Jar from Star Wars and said like, hey, let's make an album with him.
I think that's actually been done before. It feels like. Sounds like something that's been done before.
How about the Star Wars Disco album?
Oh no! What was the one recently? Headspace.
Yeah.
The promotional. I don't know if that was novelty, but that was more promotional tracks. I think we're getting into the weird realm of what is promotion, what is novelty. Because I think Headspace, it is bad, but there isn't anything you can find ironically funny in it. It's just bad.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Brain EP, it's bad, but you can poke fun at Little Dicky, like, oh, you're a piece of shit, you can't rap, like. So there's like, I think that's what kind of separates things like that. I think the Hamburger Helper, it may be promotion, but it's also just like stupid. Like it's just like terrible. You can make fun of it, you can poke fun at it all you want and like not feel bad. Which was like it's like a really weird way of promotion. Like I'm just trying to figure out like who came up with that idea. It's like, yeah, let's make a mixtape. Like I know it's like an April Fool's joke, but like why like put all this time and effort into a joke that like isn't worth it? But I think in the end people were talking about Hamburger Helper, which I guess maybe makes it worth it. It's a good piece of marketing in a sense, because people are talking about the cringiness. So it worked.
That was actually okay.
Hamburger. Oh no, the Wendy's one
was bad
with the knockoff Jean Grey. That one was bad.
That was awful.
Yeah. So like, In conclusion, because I think we've kind of rambling about this and just kind of listing off, is there any other albums we forgot to mention?
No.
Okay. Just so in conclusion, I think personally what a novelty album is to me is it can be for promotion, and it can change with time whether it is or isn't a novelty album, but it is something that is amusing, it is funny, it's an oddity, it is strange. But it has to be bad. It cannot be good, because then you get into something that can be compared with actual music. Like Neil Cicerega's Mouth Moods. It's a memey, jokey, goofy ass album, but his sampling techniques are very strong in how he combines and mashes everything together to make really, it's stupid but really great pop music.
Yeah.
So like novelty albums cannot be good because then they're not a novelty, they're actual music, I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of like novelty albums, like the claim of like fake music, like when Joji was doing the Filthy Frank character, people wanted him to do Joji and do real music, because Filthy Frank's a novelty in a sense. So I think novelty albums are more or less fake music that isn't good and you find amusement in. They could be for marketing, they could be for related TV shows or whatever, or characters outside.
Yeah.
They can be for any piece of promotion, really, as long as it's just not good. Then it's comparable to actual music. It's weird.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think I probably rambled too much about that, but I think the more I talk about it, the more I like let my thoughts come out about what I think about this topic, and the easier I think I get a full spread of everything covered. So sorry about that, but okay. I think that's all we have to say about novelty albums. I enjoyed that Elias EP though. I thought it was really fun. As a fan of wrestling, I really enjoyed just the character work being done, and it like we've had some like really shitty wrestlers do music before. And like this is the one time I felt like it was deserved. It was straight to the point. Only 14 minutes. Decent character work.
It made sense too.
Yeah. And it hopefully gets a push from it. I hope it does well. He needs a push. He needs an IC title run. He's good. Okay, so now let's segue back to what I was talking about earlier. So we took a trip to Cincinnati on Monday. We decided we were going to do a day trip and just do a bunch of stuff in Cincinnati and then see Monday Night Raw to close everything off. And let's talk about it a little bit, just some of the dumb stuff. We don't have to go into too much detail, but I think my favorite moment is when we got to the art museum and it was closed because it's closed on Mondays, and then we were really bummed out, and then we went to a different art museum.
That was a lot of fun. We walked up and down a lot of staircases.
Yeah, so basically, we went to the Cincinnati, National? It's not Cincinnati.
Just the Cincinnati Art Museum.
And we found out it was closed because we're like, oh, the parking lot's empty. Wait, are they not open? And then we were like, so the art museum's right next to a park. We were like, okay, let's go to the park. So we go up this one staircase, and it just leads nowhere. It leads to this like business, and we were just confused on where we were, and it was a long ass staircase. So we're just like sweating our asses out in the fucking heat, climbing up this large staircase that we thought was leading to a park. Doesn't lead anywhere. Then we go back down the long ass staircase, and then we pass Seymour's car again. Then we go down another long ass staircase. Then we find like a monkey brain, and Andrew like chucks it as far as he can, and it doesn't really break. And then he threw it in Seymour's trunk later on. If Seymour's watching this, he will find out, but he probably isn't, so thank God. Then we went to the amphitheater, and we got our friend Seymour to do some dance moves for us. We got him to attempt to do the whip, which is something we just wanted to see.
Didn't work.
We're trying to turn Seymour into a meme that we can market.
I think Seymour hitting the whip should be our intro this week.
But if editing Vincent's smart, he's going to put up on the screen for all you video watchers right now of Seymour hitting the whip. But also we got footage. He requested to do this. This was him. This like he wanted to do this. He did a dance to Billie Jean. And yeah, I may have to like cut that in. Like, so like if you're watching the video, you're gonna see it. But like, If not, I highly suggest you switch to the video version real fast and just check that out, because it's worth it. His like cringy performance, tall white guy, really awkward, and does the dance to Billie Jean. And it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but there's just some moments where
Seymour has no sense of rhythm,
Yeah.
and that made it even better.
But yeah, that was our experience in the park. Then we went to the mall, and our friend Andrew, as we passed the Disney store, went and he said this really loudly, "Holy shit, it's the Disney store!" That has nothing to do with anything. That is just one of my favorite moments of the entire trip. We're just in this empty mall playing like this very sophisticated mall compared to some other malls.
They were playing Mozart over the loudspeakers.
Yeah. It's just like they were only playing classical music the entire time, and it's a more well-established mall, like higher upkeep, nicer buildings, but like Andrew just shouting that in the mall just made my like that one little part of the trip worth it. We went to another art museum in Cincinnati. Modern art, was that what it was?
Contemporary Art Center.
And there were some nice pieces. I remember this one piece about this guy that was constructing like this creature of sorts, and there was some like nice like atmospheric attachment music that was like played through headphones as you were listening, and I just remember that being a really cool piece that really showed me like why I appreciate like experimental forms of music, just because I think not only are they good for like film scores, but they have their own merits to them. And then we ate at Wahlburgers, which we'll go into relation later. Really, Wahlburgers is really shitty.
I liked it.
I like the burger, the turkey burger, the Thanksgiving burger I had was interesting because it actually was like palatable, like it tastes good.
Yeah.
But like it was like that place is like set up poorly. Like it's just so crammed next to each other.
It's set up like a sushi restaurant or something.
It's not really. It's just set up like you walk past like the bar and like the cashier as you walk in, which isn't normal, but which is normal, but like in this scenario it's like only this one giant room. It isn't that big, so you expect like service to go quickly, but it doesn't, which I'm not like blaming any of the workers or anything. They work as fast as they can, but like I think it makes it harder to like when everything's like mushed together like that, it makes it hard to keep tabs on everyone.
Yeah.
Because everything's mushed together. That has nothing to do with anything. I just wanted to bring that up. And then we went to see Monday Night Raw. We saw Elias perform one of the songs off the EP, which was nice. We saw Roman Reigns beat Bobby Lashley,
which was not nice.
Seymour's favorite wrestler is Bobby Lashley. We asked him, and he said it. So Trevor and everyone else really appreciated Braun Strowman, which I enjoyed. Braun Strowman's the best.
It was a good
He's
time.
my favorite. He's one of the wrestlers currently that I think has like crossover the same way like Rock did, because he's really funny. Like you look at his like Instagram and stuff, he's like really quirky. He's goofing around like he does shit we do, just like dumb shit.
Seymour also likes Sasha Banks.
That was like the randomest pick. Like
I saw Vince McMahon.
Oh, that was interesting.
Live.
That made me mark out because I never thought I would do that. He's usually at Monday Night Raws and SmackDowns, but like he never like comes out. And the same thing with Triple H and Stephanie. That was cool. But they kept on playing the same like intro about the new women's pay-per-view, which is cool. But also they talked about it like 500 times.
They played the same clip over and over. I was able to quote the clip at the end.
You were like, the fact that you actually were able to do that surprised me. Like, I know they played it a bunch, but like the fact that you were able to like remember that, because I think at my point in like my wrestling viewing experiences, there's just like so much random shit that's just boring to me that I just like tune it out and like I'm on my phone or I'm doing something else. But you are fully in the moment. Like one of your first experiences with wrestling was this. And it's not a bad experience, but there's just like you have to like kind of get used to that type of stuff of like stuff being played over and over again.
Yeah.
And like some of the ways they highlight their own material for audiences that are watching on TV. So yeah. So that was our Cincinnati trip, not Columbus. And during our entire Cincinnati trip, though, we had a bomb ass playlist of music that some of it's a majority of it's actually good, but it's just like random stuff, like a bunch of random material. Like none of it's like truly bad. Like there's like some moments where we do play like Marky Mark and that gets on like the edge of the territory, but like a lot of it was just like like more jokey. Novelty, like I don't think all the tracks on there are Novelty, because by the way we just described, I think a lot of the tracks are good. Like we mentioned Billie Jean in a second, that's not a Novelty, it's a Novelty to us because we find it funny because our friend group and a bunch of inside jokes, but I don't think it is a Novelty. But it's a bunch of like tracks that we find funny that aren't really like funny in a sense. like all like these tracks taken out of context, played on their own, are fine, but when they're all mishmashed together, like back to back, it becomes really comical in a sense. Not to say I think when you listen to this playlist it's funny, because I think it's a good random selection of music, but I don't think it's very enjoyable unless you're in on the joke like we are. And I'm not saying you're going to be able to get the joke, but it is a nice selection of music nonetheless. And some of these tracks, if you haven't heard them before, I definitely recommend it. So the playlist, we called it Raw. It's based on our trip to Cincinnati, see Monday Night Raw. And this is the playlist segment, a segment where we're going to go over all the tracks on the playlist. There's only 7. The playlist was way longer. It was like 4 hours long. Cause
we had to pick and choose some of the most defining moments, though.
We didn't want to talk about everything because we'd be here for days, but we wanted to just pick like a good 7, the best moments, the best of the best of this playlist, and why we find them funny, and the actual musical quality to them, like what we actually enjoy musically. So yeah, without further ado, the first track on the playlist is Shaggy with It Wasn't Me. This, I think I discovered, I remember the song, listening to the song at a very young age.
Me too.
Yeah, and it was like always on like, I think MTV or like VH1, with like music videos. I got it stuck in my head and I forgot about it until a real long time, until like high school, and I was listening to Pandora. It's like, oh yeah, I remember this track, I remember it. And then one day we go, like a couple years ago, we go to BG, and our friend Philip goes up to us. He's like, you know what song I really like? And we're just like, what? It's gonna be stupid. It's like, It Wasn't Me. And we're like, by Shaggy? He's like, yeah. And he forced her to play it like back to back multiple times.
So many times on that trip. It was like a theme song.
It just became to the point where it's almost kind of annoying, but like it's like such like a fun little pop track with like Shaggy's deep voice mixed with what's his name, Rick Ross, Ricardo Decent's like higher pitched pop voice, pop perfected voice. I think the two kind of mash really well to this really like goofy story that's very it's just like very cheesy, but it's also very playful at the same time.
It's funny
talking about how Shaggy was caught in a like
he's caught butt naked on the floor.
Who's caught having sex with someone, and his girlfriend walked in. And no, actually Ricardo Decent got caught, and then Shaggy tells him, just say it wasn't you. So the entire time he's denying that he has ever had sex. So which I catch you. We gotta catch you. It's a goofy track that like highlighted like the late 90s, early 2000 pop scene of like kind of like the mix of like R&B and like pop at that time, which I think is fun.
It still holds up today. I still really enjoy that track.
It's good. Like both performances, the vocal, how they like almost contrast. Like Shaggy's really low, Ricardo's really high. Like how they are able to intertwine, I think is really nice and just blend so soulfully.
Island-y rhythm too.
Yeah. Okay, you ready for the next track?
I am.
The next track is Michael Jackson with Billie Jean. We already talked about Seymour danced on stage. This is Seymour's like favorite track. I was at a club once with
his favorite song is Thriller.
Oh yeah. So Seymour has a weird affliction with Michael Jackson. Seymour doesn't really listen to a lot of music, but he listens to a lot of Michael Jackson, which is fine because Michael Jackson's a good artist, and like if you're gonna listen to any like pop music, might as well listen to like the King. But it's just like he doesn't really listen to a lot of stuff out, so like a lot of his choices of like tracks that he enjoys are really random, and like it all started with like Michael Jackson, and we found that he's just like he has a really soft spot for him, and like
he's liked Michael Jackson. I've known Seymour longer than you, but he's always liked Michael Jackson ever since like 8th grade, freshman year. Yeah. And he told me how much he liked him. Like there was a point where he was watching the Thriller music video at least twice a day.
Yeah.
Like at least. There were days where he watched it like 4 or 5 times. That's his favorite song.
And
Thriller.
It's very, like, I think just anything Michael Jackson is very, like, goofy in our friend group just because it has to do with Seymour, and it's the relationship to Seymour that kind of makes it a novelty in our eyes. But I think this track, probably one of my favorite Michael Jackson's tracks. I think it's one of those best performances. It's better than Thriller. Thriller's too, like,
don't tell Seymour.
It's too monster mashy
Don't
for me. But I think Michael Jackson is just like his vocals alone in this track and are kind of what solidified him as king of pop. And this is from Thriller, so it's like
I think Seymour solidified himself as the king of pop. This dance.
This album kind of, the Thriller kind of solidified like a new era of like post disco, or like, because like Off the Wall was very disco. Like I have that hard time like not solidifying as disco, whereas Michael Jackson's next phase with Thriller, it tracks like Billie Jean and the track Thriller solidified himself in like a more pop phase that blended the elements of disco with pop into a new pop like R&B scene.
Kind of opened the door for a lot of other people as well.
Yeah, which I think it's a quintessential album because it comes in a weird time where America was kind of getting over disco and moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the tracks that isn't as gimmicky as Thriller. No, it's not. It's not gimmicky like Thriller, but it is equally as enjoyable.
I think Thriller is only gimmicky because of the music video.
I think it is gimmicky as a whole.
Just because of the music video.
But like, it's hard to escape that. Like, most
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's so difficult to escape that music video that like you can't separate the two.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it gimmicky.
Yeah. And just because I'm saying it's gimmicky does not mean by any means I think it's bad. I think it's a good track. It's a really good track, and it's good for a reason, but you can't get that imagery out of your head. You can't get zombie Michael Jackson out of your head.
Yeah.
Doing the
get out of there.
Yeah, get out. But yeah, Billie Jean, I think it's jokey to us, but I think it actually is credits of being a fresh song in like a new era, which I think is really cool. Next, I've never actually had to say his name before.
Warren Zevon
with Werewolves of London. This is actually a pretty recent track. I think it was last for us. Like we've known this track forever, like, because it's like growing up in Ohio, like with the radio stations, with the classic rock radio station, this was played like a lot. So like, it's not anything new, but the fact that like last week we were making a playlist of music we wanted to hear on the way down, and I think Trevor recommended Werewolves of London. And then we listened to it right after we listened to the new Ski Mask the Slump God single, Nationwide. So that shows our taste, just like two extremes. But we were listening to it, and I randomly shouted out, I don't know why I shouted this out, I'm like, Werewolves of London is racist. And then we had a discussion about why Werewolves of London is actually racist and why you could view it as like a track about a guy who's like a track about a guy in London who's never seen like an African American before, and like just he sees them as like a monster, which is like, it's not the viewpoint I think is actually.
It's absolutely. It was meant to be a huge joke track.
Yeah.
And be like super catchy and dumb. And that's it.
Yeah.
But like, we added a whole new layer of meaning to it. And everybody in the car knew it anyway. So yeah. It was funnier that way.
It's just like, I don't know. I want to, and I also brought the idea I had of, I want to do a sketch where someone's performing the song and everyone around him thinks it's racist and he's trying to prove it's not. It's actually about actual werewolves. I just think that would be like a stupid sketch that would just be terrible, but I think it would be enjoyable to me at least. But yeah, I think this track, the piano on it's really solid, and I think that's kind of what makes it a solid. And the fact that it is super jokey. This is a more gimmicky track. It is monster mashy. There's a reason it's on your Halloween mix for a reason.
It's a good song.
And the fact that Kid Rock sampled it makes it even better. Like he straight up just stole the track. Like
He just took the piano and then put Sweet Home Alabama over it, and he was like, all right, this is my own song now.
he literally like he took the only like the lyricism and like the jokiness of the track is what makes it like enjoyable as well, but like the thing that makes it iconic production wise is the piano. When you take that away, you're essentially ripping the soul from the track and giving it to another track.
Yes.
Like I just find that to be really funny. But yeah, I enjoy this track for what it is. It's a nice little like almost classic rock
It's
track
fun.
that has
I
like,
like it.
some like almost southern soul to it in this way, mixed with just like a good amount of jokiness and some great keys. Okay, you ready for the next one? Next one, probably not probably the most serious, but probably the most close to an actual novelty track in a weird way, because I find this track just to be so strange, and I still like I've come to enjoy this track after a review of it, but I find it to be just very like I really want to know what like the process of writing the song was like and how they were going for the sound they did. But Kitsy Ghost, feel the love, I can still feel love. But this track it's the intro to Kitsy Ghost, the album, and sometimes. But it is like the more I like listen to this track since the review, I come to appreciate almost the psychedelic and hypnotic sound it is going for. And when I did the review, I didn't view this as a full track, and I still, part of me does not, because I think it needed an extra verse. But I think the Cuddy hook, the Cuddy vocal sample that it's played over and over and over again, that it gets almost engraved in your mind his vocal performances, inflection on the track, mixed with Kanye's weird ass drum sample. It's not a drum sample, it's more of a drum performance that he's doing. He becomes the drum. He's not playing drums, he is the drum. He's singing the drums.
Basically.
Make it this weird, unforgettable experience. And as much as I don't view this as I have a hard time embracing this as a full experience, I do think it's doing so many kind of like unique things with it, blending like almost hip hop with like psychedelic music, psychedelic rock in a sense, and being super hypnotic. But at the same time, there's a Pusha T verse that brings it almost down to earth, and I kind of want to experience this track with almost out the Pusha T verse, because like I want to know how that sound just progresses, because I just want to see if there was a version of it without, because like the Pusha T verse is supposed to be the anchor that holds it for a little bit of the track, but then you get into these ends that are very just kind of crazy, loopy, and just odd, and they are a novelty in the sense I think Kanye's drum loop is a novelty-like performance, but I just think it's a very memorable, goofy song that has like great ideas going into it, and they knew what they wanted to do. I just wanted to figure out how they got to these points, because I think it's just so strange that they ended up there. But yeah, I enjoy this track. I get it stuck in my head so much. Me and Trevor do the feel love, we say that a lot. So, and yeah, it's a great banger. It's a great emotional energy like banger, smash banger. I think it's really cool.
Smash banger.
And it's goofy enough everyone can enjoy it. So even if your friends are not like fans of Kanye, they can like appreciate.
They can still feel the love.
Appreciate like the grooviness of the track, but also like the goofiness of Kanye's vocal sample and the catchiness of Cuddy. Okay, you ready for the next one? Marky Mark and the Funky Brunch, Good Vibrations. We talked about Mark Wahlberg and how we went to Wahlburgers on Monday, and I think that kind of plays into why like I wanted to bring up this track as well. But like I discovered this track in like high school, and there was like back in like my more youthful days of stupid Vincent, I had like two random references that I would pull out a hat like random if I just wanted to be like LOL random, like just nonsensical. And one was Mike Tyson, and the other was Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. There's like references that I would make to them at just like the tip of a hat for no reason, just to be like
Now
stupid.
we've got lots of.
Now we got lots of them because we listen to so much music nowadays that like there's so many strange artists out there. But there's the fact that like I think I discovered the song through like Pandora, and I think you showed it to me again, and I was like, that's how it got like introduced to our friend group. And the fact that that progressed to me going to second time around one day and buying that CD over there for $1. And the cashier, as I was going up, that's the only thing I bought that day. I bought that CD for $1. I will go up to the cashier. And the cashier goes, "Yeah, you're my new favorite customer," just because I bought that. Just that just oddity of like an album, the novelty in it. There's some like good experiences. It's not a good album. It's terrible. But this is, I think it's actually a good pop rock track or pop rap track for what it is. And it is goofy. It lyrically is so stupid. It is like so like unbelievably cheesy. But
it's so funny.
The great piano work that is like meshed together and holds the track with the vocal samples, like almost the drum like vocal samples in the back, I think are really cool. That the ooh doo 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 doo, and how they are in tune with the piano, I think are really cool, and they provide this like nice like almost like tower of sound being produced. Everything's layered on each other really nicely in that track. And the only thing you can say about it is Mark Wahlberg. He's just it's what you expect. It is so unbelievably cheesy. It is just like...
I was disappointed that Wahlburgers didn't have any mention of the Funky Bunch.
That's honestly true. They had posters for like the Italian Job. Where's the Funky Bunch poster?
Yeah, I mean, they easily could have... That's like where you guys start.
That's honestly, yeah, where you got to start. Why isn't it mentioned? Like, do you think he's ashamed of that time period?
I think so. That's what I've heard from anybody that knows about the Funky Bunch. Everybody always says like, yeah, he's like ashamed of them now, like just embarrassed by his group and like what they did. But it's not like they were a street gang or anything.
Yeah.
They just made like a couple of stupid albums and they were just being young and dumb and having fun, you know?
Yeah, I just
and
find
his brothers were in it too, you know?
I just find that to be like just incredibly like stupid that even like Mark Wahlberg doesn't like the Funky Bunch. Like he even finds like some like I don't know humility in it, which is enjoyable in the sense.
When are we going to get a Funky Bunch reunion tour?
I don't know. That seems like something that could actually happen. Like nowadays, like anything's possible. So like if any dumb joke gets pushed enough, like it can happen.
I hope it happens.
All you gotta do is eat 10,000 Wahlburgers, and Mark Wahlberg will rejoin the Funky Bunch. But yeah, it's a novelty of a track, the pop rock track, but I personally find it enjoyable for how stupid, how unbelievably cheesy and corny it is, even though it's like almost too corny, with some nice piano work and vocal samples that mesh well together. Okay, ready for the next one? Next one is Seal, Kiss from the Rose. I think I discovered the song in middle school due to Batman Forever, which I watched a lot back in like 7th grade because I had like Batman fever. I started playing Batman Arkham Asylum, and I played through that like a lot. And I watched like all the movies, so like all the Christopher Nolan films that were out at the current moment, and then the previous like 4 films, including Batman and Robin, which I just find like is such like an enjoyable like dumpster fire. Just it's so like terrible. But Batman Forever is kind of like a weird moment in that where it's not as dumpster fire, but is very comic booky. So it's like even more comic booky than actual like comic book. So it is like cheesy, wild, like all over the place, nonsensical. But and like the performances are so outlandish, like Tommy Lee Jones as like Two-Face, and Jim Carrey as the Joker are just so like out there and like not even like decent performances. Like they just like are so like they're all goofball. in that film. But the film, like, for some reason, I don't know how they got this, but the main theme song of the film was "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal, and like, I just find that to just be like such a strange moment. But "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal is such a good track, just like a very romantic, very emotionally heavy, like, pop performance. I think it's very, just like, Seal doesn't have the most like unique voice, more or less, but I think it's a lot of the backup grandness that built him up. And not to say Seal's bad, but like, I think he is able to deliver on the track, but I just think he isn't able to shine past just like being kind of generic when comparing to other artists, especially around that time. And I think a lot of how the track is built up and escalates and breathes, and it becomes this like huge, like almost opus of types that it just expands, and it's very romantic and very emotional.
The way it's like put together and the harmonies remind me a lot of like a Renaissance track almost. Like, just the kind of triplet feel that you get. Da, 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 da. It feels like you walked into like some medieval castle, and that's like what was playing. And then Seal's there.
I just find that to be like such a weird moment that song came from Batman Forever. Or at least it was attached to it. And is most known for Batman Forever. But yeah, so I discovered the song in middle school, and then Philip one day. No, I think I played it in the car once just because I haven't heard it in a while. I just wanted.
Played it because you got the Batman Forever soundtrack.
Oh yeah. I bought that for $1. I keep on buying CDs for $1. I keep on getting lucky. But yeah, we went to Dollar Book Swap, and I found a copy of. Oh, I should put that up. Oh, never mind. I'll do it later. I found a copy of the Batman Forever soundtrack, and it has "Kiss from the Rose" on it. And I was just like, this would be a cool novelty just to own. And I played it, and Philip like apparently never heard that song before, and he got like really attached to it. So he just like started to like play it a lot. So like one day we were just like driving with him, and he requested that I play that song. And like every time we've driven with him since, he's demanded that song. Like, he has like a deep sentimental attachment to it.
It could be a worse song.
It could be. Like, Philip likes some, like, our friend Philip likes some just like terrible like pop trash, but like "Kiss from the Rose" is a classic. I don't care. But yeah, I think the track is, I don't know, I think it's very grand and romantic and emotional, but I think it has like just like a weird atmosphere that it's able to provide for such a like a track that comes from like the Batman Forever soundtrack. The fact that Batman Forever had "Kiss from a Rose" and the first Batman film had a soundtrack by Prince just like amazes me. Like, I just want to know how like a lot of these things just get like set up, like Kiss writing a song for Batman and Prince being like contracted to do the soundtrack. I just find that to be like stupid. But moving on, final track. This is our dang pick of the week. Okay, so this one has a bit of story to it. So I was watching Community a couple weeks ago, and I was in the first season, and there's this episode where Chevy Chase's character is trying to write a song for like Greendale, and he can't think of anything because all he does is like rip off other songs. So he plays like a knockoff version of Bruce Hornsby in the Ranges, "The Way It Is," but it's like written for Greendale. So he just like takes out the lyrics, and like the opening part where it's like, "To get a job," he replaces that with like, "Get a biology degree to get a job," and something like that. Like, I find that it's like a nice like little moment on the show, but like for some reason I like haven't heard that song in a while, and I really like just like the like almost like nostalgia atmosphere that it provides. Not my personal nostalgia, but the nostalgia that it's able to show in the track.
It's a nostalgic track even if you never lived in the time that it's nostalgic for. So the like I all of a sudden, like, so I was listening to the track like after I watched that episode,
And our friend, we were like doing something in Snapchat, and apparently I made like a video with that song playing in the background, and then Trevor has asked me about that song ever since. Like, I keep on forgetting about the song, and then Trevor keeps on bringing it up to the point where I just remember it now because it's a joke.
Because you were zooming in on Philip's face.
Oh yeah, I had
right during the chorus of the song.
But yeah, it's like a very nostalgic piano ballad mixed with instrumentation, some nice strings up in there too. I think it's just a good blend of instruments that provide this like nostalgic backdrop for something. I think it's not like the most like well-crafted lyricism I've ever heard in my life. Like the lyricism,
You're on job with job.
yeah, like there's moments like that, and there's a weird ASMR section where he goes, "That's just the way it is." But like I don't understand like moments like that. Like, but I think it's a funny track, and the fact that I have this new experience with it where we're just joking about it so much now, just bringing it up in random conversations and talking about it and singing the hook at random moments just to be like stupid. I think I have this new sentimental attachment to it that makes it like enjoyable to me, especially the ASMR parts. I just find those to be fucking hilarious because like there's no reason why he needs to go, "That's just the way," because like there's like he does it like as a progression for the first part, but then he comes back later and he just goes, "That's just the way it's like, why are you doing this?" Like there's no build up to why you're doing it vocally, so I just find it to be really funny and strange. But yeah, that is our playlist segment for this week. It was very rambly, and it was a bunch of random tracks that we find funny for personal reasons, that you may find funny because they're placed next together and they're just so strange how they blend well, or how they blend together. But I hope you guys enjoy. I actually enjoy all these tracks. Whether
They're all good.
They're all
songs.
good. Like they all serve different purposes. Weirdly enough, like Michael Jackson's "Billie Jean," like we joke about that, but that actually
is a good song.
It serves a bigger purpose, and so did I think Kitsy Ghost is serving a bigger purpose. I think all these have like depth to them, weirdly enough, and like the musicality, strangely, or at least how we presented them, I find to be funny.
We listen to some bad stuff. We don't always listen to bad
stuff. But yeah, that's not a true show of our actual music taste. We actually like music that isn't completely random and all scatterbrained and all over the place, but it's a nice look into our psyche of what we find funny.
It kind of is.
And how we operate with people and how we kind of relate with people through music. I just find it to be really interesting how all of these songs are basically based off us gaslighting our other friends with songs that they like. So yeah, that is the playlist segment this week. Hope we do it again soon. But yeah, this has been the latest episode of the Anthony Todd Show. I hope you guys had fun. This has been a really eclectic trip, so hopefully you guys stayed with it because it's just stupid. This is probably our worst episode. It's not our worst, I don't think. But
I hope you guys get to meet our friends someday.
I hope not. But till next time, guys. See ya.
Bye.